When you enter a particular segment in the Philippine automotive industry, you better come at it with more than just a song and dance number or a magic trick to get noticed at the big table. Poetry! Perhaps. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the 2024 Kia Sonet, and on paper, much like its exterior, it reads very, very well. And on this walk around, I just don't want to talk about it, I want to show you why this car is actually a serious contender. The first thing that I want to talk about, other than this beautiful color, is the size of the automobile. Now, it's the same size as that of the Toyota Race. In fact, that's the car that they were trying to pin it up head-to-head against. The wheelbase and the total length of this car is a tad shorter than that of the Race, but its width and height is ever so slightly bigger. It is shorter wheelbase and total length-wise, but it does make up for it in spades with what's underneath. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a 1.5-liter four-cylinder naturally aspirated gasoline engine mated to a CVT. Now, the biggest takeaway from everything that I just said there is that it is 4 cylinders as opposed to 3 cylinders, either in a 1-liter turbo or a 1.2 naturally aspirated, which means that this has less vibrations, less knockings when you're stuck in traffic or crawling at EDSA speeds or even on the highway, which will make it a much smoother ride. Now, the total output of this engine is 113 horses and 144 newton meters of torque. The legs, obviously, we want to find out if it's fuel efficient or not, but we'll save that for our behind the wheel. It is very much so a Korean automobile, but the colors available are very American because you get them in red, white, and blue. The top-of-the-line SX with the black roof also gets it in red and white, but without the blue. They change it with this pewter olive, which I think looks darn good. Now, onto the exterior of the automobile. The front nose, the grille, is very much a Kia. You can see it in almost all the cars that Kia produces, save maybe the EVs, but mostly they look like that. You have a full LED affair, from headlamps to fog lamps found down below, including your taillights. Now, I make mention this a lot of LEDs because, well, when you're trying to save money as a car company, you don't put LEDs, you put halogens. But here, it's a full LED affair. You move down the side and you've got a chrome garnish found underneath the window sills. 16-inch alloy wheels can be found not just on the top-of-the-line SX, but across the entire line. What I can also say is that this car sits on 205 millimeters of ground clearance, which is even more than that of a Fortuner, which sits on just 193 millimeters of ground clearance. When you open her up, you are looking at about 385 liters of space, very usable space, even though the lip is quite deep. But that amount of space is roughly the same as a CX-30, according to Jack. Good eye, Jack, good eye. There is no, obviously, power tailgate, but that's 385 liters of space will obviously more than double when you fold the second row. How much more and what balikbayan boxes you can put in there, which, by the way, I can say because this opening is quite large, we'll let you know just exactly how many balikbayan boxes fit in there when you subscribe to our channel and when we get this puppy out for a proper behind the wheel. First impressions when you get inside the rear seats. That's my normal driving position, and look at how tall I'm sitting because the seats are very, very elevated, which means that there might not be a lot of headroom for much taller persons. But for me and Earl, yeah, no problems whatsoever. If you were to put 3 people in here, it could, but it might be a tight squeeze because, well, your elbow room is a bit limited. The tunnel in the center, however, is actually quite low. There is one, but it's quite low. Low enough that you could fit a 3rd passenger, but really much more comfortable if you were just 4. Rather 2 in the rear, 4 in the total car. Earl, do your math. Come on, man, you should know this. There are 2 air vents available here in the center, 2 charging points, which are Type-C, by the way, and of course, a center armrest with 2 cup holders. In addition to that, there are bottle holders on either door, and even though that this is the smallest of small cars, well, one of the smallest cars out there, it still has ISOFIX tethers, which is great for a small family that's just thinking about starting out and you need a car. On paper, it's starting to look really good, isn't it? Yeah, not to mention the two-tone seats. When you step inside the front seat, there is a familiarness to it. If you've ever sat inside or watched the reviews of the Kia Seltos, then there is some form of familiarity here. The layout is quite the same. The vents are a little bit bigger and then the air controls are a little bit smaller, but it does feel very Kia in here, which is not necessarily a bad thing because it's something that you're accustomed to and you get used to very, very easily. And the air controls are very easy to get to, the buttons on the steering wheel, it's actually laid out pretty well. You have, for the top of the line, a 10.25-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which doubles obviously as your reverse camera, with Android and Apple capabilities. Not only that, you have a bright instrument cluster, which is an LED affair, or rather an LCD affair as well. Here you've got a wireless charger, something new. You also have a Type-C charging point, which is awesome. And inside this car, at this price point, you've got a sunroof, baby. Obviously, inside the top of the line also, you'll find all the advanced driver assist systems that you could ever need or want. And of course, the 6 speakers to keep you company inside the automobile. And then there's also the bonus of, it's quite warm, I'm going to close this. If you do want to start the automobile with the air conditioning turned on, there is a remote start available for this car. At this price point, I think that's unheard of. And then it's got a really cool feature, like if you were to tell a corny joke, like let's say for example, hey Jack, what do you call a fish that wears a bow tie?
What?
Sophisticated.
Ha. Ha.
Tough crowd.
Ha.
Tough crowd. The only thing that you want to know now is its price. The 2024 Kia Sonet starts at under 800,000 Philippine pesos, which is already a great price. But this top-of-the-line SX is 1.1 million Philippine pesos, and that ain't bad at all. Head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph to find out more information about this car, including any specs that you may need, or try our app, which is available on Android and iOS. I gotta tell you, this car may not be as beautiful as a summer's day, but it's close. On paper, it's darn close.